cheating wife's lover teased me in public, so I shattered his arm, revealed their affair, and sought divorce. I never thought my life would turn into something quite like a horrible soap show. Currently working in logistics, I am a 34-year-old man who served in the military and have tours under credit. Together for 10 years, my 32-year wife and I have been married for 8. At least in part, we were. Every week changed last week. That evening was an ordinary Thursday. After a demanding day at work, I chose to have a drink at my preferred bar downtown. This is a quiet place, nothing spectacular, low lighting, a jukebox humming in the background, and a bartender familiar with your drink without asking. Somewhere I could relax and clear my brain. My wife entered the door just as I had barely taken a sip of beer. I originally assumed I was dreaming about things. She had informed me she would be working late, finishing some major project with her staff. She was, however, holding hands with another man. She was giggling, her head slanted back like he was the most humorous man on the planet. I knew that laughter. My jokes used to make her laugh that way. My beer halfway to my lips, I paused as they walked in like a pair without any thought at all. Just a few tables away, close enough for me to observe every exchange, every fleeting gaze, every touch. Though I could not take my eyes off her, she had not seen me yet. She seemed delighted, too pleased for someone who had been working late at the office. As awareness dawned, my stomach knotted like hell. This was not only one-time occurrence, it then worsened. She laughed when the man leaned in, said something in her ear. She rested her hand on his arm, the same way she had touched me when we were initially courting. I got sick. He turned at this point, looking about the room and fixed on me. He gave a smile. Like he had won some competition I didn't even know I was in, this smile exuded smugness. Rising, he moved sloppily over to my table with beer. He remarked, "You lost your girlfriend, soldier," patted me on the shoulder like we were old friends without asking. Now she is mine. My jaw closed so forcefully it ached. I looked at him, trying to digest the sheer boldness of what had just come out of his mouth. My head flew through 1,000 possibilities. There, part of me wanted to lunge straight ahead and there, but I stayed fixed to my chair, every muscle in my body stiffened. He grinned and walked off to the bathroom as though he owned the house. Something in me caught my attention. I got up, hardly aware the chair was rubbing on the floor. As I walked toward their table, my legs seemed to be moving on their own. My wife looked up, her expression changing from shock to remorse right away. "Does it make you happy to openly denigrate me?" I asked, my voice calm yet low. Her complexion grew pallid. "I can clarify for you here." Don't I blocked her. Enough lies for a lifetime have come across me. Her affair partner returned from the bathroom before she could open her mouth to say something else. Grinning like this was all some big joke, he noticed me standing there. "Hey, B-tard, you still live here?" he remarked, approaching closer. I am not sure what passed over me. Perhaps it was months of repressed mistrust at last erupting. Perhaps it was his arrogant attitude or the way my wife sat there, silent and compliant. I know I swung before I could have thought. His arm snapping sounded rather sickly loud. He landed, gripping his arm, and screamed in agony. The bar stopped talking. Adrenaline runs through every eye pointed at me. Her hands covering her lips, my wife gasped. But I didn't give a damn. I felt as though I was asserting myself for the first time in months. Order broke out. The bartender yelled for me to stop someone shouting to call the cops. I moved aside, lifting my hands. I had no intention of running. What I had done made no sense to me. Minutes later, the police showed up. They recorded my comment while Ethan, the affair partner, screamed about urgent bills. Fortunately, a couple of witnesses supported me by attesting to his provocation. Still, I was hauled in for interrogation, which was embarrassing on its own. A few hours later, they let me go with a warning, stating I would have to comply should Ethan choose to pursue charges. That evening, I stayed away from home. Rather, I dropped off a friend from my army days. I called a lawyer early the next morning. I would make sure it wouldn't be on her terms should my wife wish out of our marriage. Update. Thanks to everyone who left comments on my first piece. During one of the most stormy periods in my life, your guidance and encouragement have been quite priceless. Since that evening in the pub, it has been a whirl, but I wanted to offer you all an update. I have first and most importantly formally sought divorce. Not sparing words, my attorney he told me to move fast to safeguard my belongings and make sure my wife couldn't keep money flowing anymore. He had it correct. More than I had ever wanted to know, I discovered as I started excavating. She turned out had been seeing Ethan for more than a year. 1 year. Though retrospect is 20/20, I'm not sure how I missed the signals. I found a wealth of damning proof when looking over our shared computer. Our money paid for hotel receipts, gifts, and dining expenses. There were pictures of 2 people smiling together in locations she told me she was visiting for business conferences. The worst thing was some of those visits fell at times I had to call off arrangements with her due to job obligations. She made me feel bad about not being there while gallivanting about on my dime with Ethan. Regarding the money mishandling especially, my attorney assures me that this will benefit me during the divorce process. He is sure that most of what I have worked so hard to create will be walking away with. That is not all, though. I resolved to reach out to Ethan's wife and trustingly go forward. He is definitely married. Lily is her name, and she's a gorgeous woman who never deserved any of this. Though I wasn't sure how she would respond when I phoned her, she listened calmly as I went over everything. I then emailed her the proof, pictures, receipts, even screenshots of messages I had come onto. Lily was in shock. She broke off over the phone and had no idea what Ethan was up to. We spent hours chatting, each of us attempting to digest the treachery. Having someone who really could relate to the depth of what I was experiencing was surprisingly consoling. We have chosen to keep in contact and help one another through this catastrophe. Like me, she is resolved not to let Ethan walk away unharmed and is already starting the divorce paperwork process. Regarding my wife, she has been nonstop exploding my phone. Texts, calls, emails, you name it. She has tried anything. She first claimed it was a mistake and that she still loves me, so launching a barrage of apologies. It then turned to begging for even another opportunity, declaring she would do whatever to right things. At last, when I ignored her, she began accusing me of being overly preoccupied with work and neglecting her. It nearly laughs out loud. She still defies responsibility, even after all she has done. I have not answered to one message, and I do not intend to. Not much is left to say. She made her decision the instant she chose to turn on me. Today, I am making mine. Right now, I'm concentrating on what lies ahead and safeguarding my future and forward motion. Though I know I'm headed in the correct path, the road ahead will not be simple. Update. I hadn't expected this narrative to appeal to so many people. The flood of help, guidance, and first-hand knowledge has been astounding. I appreciate everyone that got in touch. Your comments have made a difficult period somewhat less taxing, as things stand right now here. Officially, the divorce procedure is underway, and my attorney is managing things like a pro. Reviewing all the data, pictures, receipts, letters, he moved for spousal misbehavior. He's sure I'll walk away without losing much since I discovered her cheating and have clear evidence she used marital money to pay for her affair. Actually, I have a fair chance of recouping some of the money she paid for Ethan. Though it doesn't remove the suffering, knowing this offers me a meager feeling of justice. Regarding Ethan, he is in more danger than first seemed. His wife confronted him with the proof I sent after Lily. She filed for divorce, then kicked him out of their residence. She is not restraining herself. Her attorney is pursuing him for spousal support, complete custody of their children, and about anything else she could possibly acquire. Ethan is actually not only a cheater, he has also been fiscally reckless, accumulating debt Lily was ignorant of until lately. Ever since, Ethan has been trying to reach me, Claiming he will sue me for the damage I generated in the pub, he left angry voicemails and sent threatening emails. It started to rattle me first. After talking it over with my lawyer, I'm not scared he could have a case. Legal precedent supports my account of what happened, that he provoked me, and the witnesses at the bar back up my story. In fact, his threats just make him appear worse. Emotionally, it has resembled a roller coaster. On other days, I am so enraged at her, at him, at myself for not spotting the symptoms earlier. Other days, I sense an extreme emptiness, as though the life I believed I was living was only a mirage. The knowledge that the person I most trusted was capable of such treachery challenges me. I am not allowing this nevertheless define me. Starting treatment, it has changed everything. A lifeline has come from talking to someone who doesn't criticize, who helps me sort the clutter in my thoughts and manage my feelings. My therapist advised concentrating on little accomplishments, such as finishing the day without considering them, or moving toward reconstruction of my life. My relationship with Lily has turned out to be one unanticipated benefit among all of this. Knowing someone else really gets what this feels like helps us both through HL. We keep in regular contact, updating one another on our individual circumstances and lending one other support. Oddly, a real friendship has grown out of this disaster. Over the years, I have also begun to rebuild relationships with people I missed. Old buddies, family members I hadn't phoned in years. Realizing how many people care about me and are supporting me to come out from this stronger has been touching. Although my chapter of life is still to be written, for the first time in weeks I feel like I'm headed in the correct path. Though I have a long journey ahead, I am resolved to come out on the other side head held. Update. Since my last one, a lot has happened. At last, I can say I'm beginning to feel like myself once more. Though it's been a long, terrible road, I glimpse a lighthouse at the end of the tunnel for the first time in what seems like eternity. Last week, the divorce was finalized. I had an odd variety of feelings as I left the courthouse: relief, gloom, and an unusual sense of finality. Thanks to the tight case my lawyer created, my wife left with very little. I maintained most crucially my peace of mind, my savings, and the house. Seeing her expression as the judge delivered the final decision seemed like validation, but all I felt was nothing. Her shoulders fell and her eyes flew to evade mine. She seemed defeated. That instant erased whatever last emotions I might have had. She made decisions, now she is dealing with the results. Ethan's life has fallen apart entirely. From what I know, Lily won full custody of their children and also filed a restraining order against him because of some unpredictable behavior on his part. He is having trouble keeping up with child support payments, and his name has dropped in their town. Those who once praised his economic success now view him for what he really is: a cheater and liar. Regarding myself, I've begun to reconstruct. I am gradually but definitely piecing my life back together. Old friends, the kind who knew me before all of this, have been nothing except supportive when I have reunited with them. Having folks around who remind me of who I was before the upheaval is energizing. I have likewise buried myself in my work. It's been a nice diversion and a means of focusing my energies towards something useful. Having lately been promoted seemed like confirmation that I am headed in the correct direction. Having the extra money, I have begun to arrange a solo trip, something I have always wanted to do, but have always put off. Traveling alone, seeing new locations, and having time to meditate excite me. It seems like the ideal approach to welcome my next phase of life. When I look back, I'm not sorry breaking Ethan's arm. Was it impulsive? Perfect. But in that instant, I felt as though I was, in a manner I hadn't done in years, defending myself. I had let myself be mistreated, disregarded the red flags, and put my needs last for far too long. Though hectic at the time, the moment proved a turning point, a wake-up call I needed to recover my dignity and self-esteem. All of this has been a difficult but worthwhile education. It's reminded me of the need of establishing limits, following my gut feeling, and never compromising on less than I am due. Healing isn't linear, I also discovered. Good days and bad ones abound. Nevertheless, I know I will be fine as long as I keep ahead. Thank you to everyone who has followed my tale, given counsel, and helped me along this road. More than you may ever know, your words have meant. Here is fresh starts, wiser decisions, and a better future. Second narrative, not want to delve too deeply, but rather want to summarize fast. I had to finish online task within a given deadline that calls for your whole focus. I walked outside to feed the hungry stray kitties at my front door before I started. I left then to head to work. Everything was great until my mum ordered me to go tidy something. I explained to her I was busy and would finish it once I was free. Reminder time limit. Everything is great. I went and quickly cleared off what she advised even though I had a deadline. I tried to swiftly check it even though I didn't completely review it over. Though I didn't have the time, I knew I most likely had to review it when I got home. All went as planned. I closed down my business. I have concentration and motivating problems, hence it takes some time. Remember, I was on my way to the kitchen after just finishing. Now bear in mind I did try to tidy it but did not finish while working. Then it transpired all at once. My mother stood in front of me staring with such a nasty, terrifying stare. Then she screamed and hollered at me, yelling me out since she said I did not follow her advice. I quickly said I had left the fork on the couch I had fed the kitties from by mistake. Having been working, I had not known I had. She started screaming at me as I tried to explain myself and apologies. She didn't care when I told her I attempted to improve. Actually, I tried, but she stated I lacked the necessary effort to tidy or whatnot. She was getting more and more enraged and swearing more and more at me while I kept apologizing to help to diffuse the matter. Many times I told her I disliked when she called me names beach, mother effer, nunga, and swore at me. I'm black, yet she wouldn't listen. I admitted my error and would have cleaned it later, but my mother kept screaming until suddenly she branded me her abuser. I effing abused her, she said. I mistreated her. I treated her poorly ever since I was a toddler, she claims. I couldn't believe what she said since, as a toddler, she mistreated me. To demonstrate her hypnotic power, my mother has done to me below is a list. I was emotionally mistreated as a young child, as young as I recall. Having names and foul words called even from small childhood. Not only did I grow up with regular spankings, I was stripped down to just my bare sass and occasionally spanked in front of others. The most painful spanking was being hit outside in the backyard with a long extension cable. I also sat on by her throughout her whooping of me. As a child, I was punished not only by her but by one of my first grade teachers. The concerned instructor made bad children hold several books aloft for a long length of time. Let a student in our class get hit with a belt by her father before us all. Told us black youngsters. During Black History Month, we may dress up like slaves at school. We were not let to put them down. My mother had me stand on one leg or up on all fours for what appeared to be more than 30 minutes. Then my mother would nod off and leave us standing until she called to halt. At age 12, 2 times for 4 weeks overall, I was kicked out of the house and had to reside in a group house like a prison. Not even from school could I depart. Not one phone or piece of technology here. Had to go daily via a scanner. They paid us a little for our labor. They took us to the movies twice, but in return I had to stay in a room with another random kid and was not allowed to leave, except for using the loo and having a bath or going to school. Out. Over issues my mother recorded in my records, I was compelled to receive therapy. One such thing is, I lie to harm other people and many more false facts without ever first consulting me. Twice I was sent after I was discovered using my Chromebook for school when I wasn't supposed to. As I was packing and dropped off at the site, I was crying and yelling. I was hardly even 12. Many times my mother broke my privacy by reading through my notes, drawings, and SHT, talking them through for my relatives without my permission. Stood in front of her as she browsed through my personal journal. I was powerless to stop her. Among the few things I could manage was this. Fearful of breaking my stuff, watched me in the dark while I was sketching in my room silently, and started to shout at me when she glimpsed what I was creating. Threatened my brother and myself with a GN. She She unloaded and showed a while it was happening, apparently meant to justify her behavior, although that doesn't really matter. Mom shot me and I thought I was dead. We were held at GN point and had to do sit-ups and push-ups, all for someone else using her soap. If my room was dirty in middle school, Mother used to toss everything on the ground so I would have a mound of things and SHT on my floor to tidy. I would come home to pick it up as this occurred once in a while. Religious trauma was brought about in what passed for a cult. She did a lot more. I wouldn't want to enter her world. On my profile, I went into great length about some of the other topics. Verify. I never uploaded this on the act. Although I can't recall the account's name, should I find it, I will mark it in the comments. This is merely SHT uploading alt. I thus really lost it after learning that experienced a mental collapse, started yelling, and this is what transpired. Now you're not going to do that in my house. Go and yell outside. I was expelled outdoors. I had on just pajamas and socks, none of shoes. Outside the porch, in the snow. A blizzard passed a few days ago, and frozen conditions. I loathed her, and I managed to tell her as she kicked me off. Until she told me to come back inside 30 minutes later, I sat outside bawling, totally a mess. She stated she best not hear me say I hate her again when she did quickly come outside. She said she knew I despised her, but I spoke it aloud at last. Which isn't even accurate. She merely persisted in shrieking and pushed me to say it. Then I went to cover my face in tears into my room. Today was yesterday. My mother never owned an apology, never asked my level of performance, not at all. Her isn't with me, but I detest her nasty actions. She never owns or admits responsibility for what she does. I see right through her. She purposefully sought to irritate me since it would allow her to feel in charge of someone. She hates her life and vents her frustrations on me, and my siblings as a means of apportioning guilt. She understood specifically that her actions infuriated me, and deliberately did that to irritate me. She was already offended and searching for a justification. Any little error I made to help her feel validated, and once she discovered it, she started off on me, shifting responsibility. I believe that to be what happened. I'm going to stop chatting. Once I can move out, I am focusing on finding a career and leaving the scene and avoiding contact whenever I can. I'll start moving out right away. I won't be phoning the police. Rather give her what she wants. She asks me often when I'm leaving and wants me to go so badly. I struggle to obtain employment since I am disabled. I will thus be going and not be contacting her when I do so. More punishment than going to jail, I believe, is having her in a nursing facility with no one visiting her due of her shy behavior. Some remarks. Get moving, if at all feasible. On it. Searching for employment. As soon as I save enough for rent, I leave here and suffer greatly mentally. Should she ever leave obvious bruises or other injuries, you should definitely visit the police. She sounds to be a narcissist and an abuser. One more decent sub-search to consider. r/obtained by narcissists. Are there any other close friends or family members ready to house you? Tell her also not to know when you do depart. Just pack and head off like a bump in the evening. No other family, as half of mine resides in another country and the other half in a different state. I know hardly either side of my family. My dad is not the one I want helping. He never truly behaved like a parent, hence right now I just want somewhere to live alone. Will depart ASAP. I'm looking for jobs RN. Should I get recruited, I will move with sufficient funds. Edit. Not close pals. The daily worry I experience makes me not truly social. Since her behavior screams untreated mental illness and lacks sufficient logical reasoning, I do not even detest my mother or believe she is evil. I do despise her behavior and treatment of me. She won to really admit her shortcomings. If she would simply apologize and mean it without thinking twice afterward, I wouldn't even harbor resentment against her. She won only learn when I cut off communication with her and she loses control over me. I simply want to leave it all behind and not think about it. I'm not even going to go to the cops. Third tale. He is 25 years old. This is insane. For a month, they have alienated us. Tonight we were having supper and I got a mystery SMS, can't make it. We were going to snuggle. Strategies evolved. We put great effort into getting him relocated out last year. Many on here find themselves unable to leave due to financial problems. He worked full-time, saved a lot of money, 4 years worth of rent, and had a 4-year lease. We all pulled together behind him. His pals, my friends, our colleagues. He led a village. We found a misdiagnosis over a year, verified by experts, and he was off the medicines. After he responded to his maltreatment and got police called on him and dragged to the psych unit, they mistakenly diagnosed him with bipolar. We also got him seen by a neuropsychologist to find out what's actually been happening. Depression and ADHD. His parents claim the diagnosis is bogus. Every doctor he has visited while with me is incorrect. They lost their SHT upon learning I was involved in all of this. Started referring to me as a controlling abuser. They have forced him on the previous pills he worked so hard to get off of after confiscating his currently prescribed medications. He made a very reasonable, legal, $500 health-related purchase. They made him go destroy it. Recently, we discovered a therapy program to handle all these problems. But now he claims he cannot be honest as he is now doing it from their place. They made him throw away every picture of me. They are following his every step. Any effort he makes to voice opinions. They tell him he doesn't know what he's talking about and is quite mentally sick. Anytime he says no, they say he's an adolescent, they're bored with his little drama, etc. On the present lease, he still has 2 months. Every time he wants to head home, though, he gets harassed. Every time he says no, they spend hours converting into a yes. They would overwhelm him with calls and texts non-stop. He is being questioned non-stop. He is continually advised he would fail without them. He has been told repeatedly he is too crippled to accomplish this on his own. He said not ready 100 times, but they are pushing him to go college, in a field he is not aptured for or interested in. He had remarked so many times, these decisions are not his own. He still shares his own apartment. Though he has 2 months remaining, today his mother was going to pack everything. He informed every one of us he understands how bad this is, made the leap today and updated the lease. Then they discovered and he vanished once more. Not able to make it. Plans adjusted. When my friend and I went to his flat, naturally he was not there. He discussed yesterday and today how he thinks this everything is wrong. He jumped right in renewing the lease. They told them he changed his mind and quickly insisted he call property management. I'm sick, tired, spent, and he won't listen to anyone. And continues to choose this. Having claimed he never even known there was the option to simply go, last time he lived there, he slept with a Glock beneath his bed, prepared to take his life. He has discussed Stockholm Syndrome, learned helplessness, and being dominated this way all of her life. We supported him in doing it. For his safe passage, we all banded around him. He's also returned now, not relevant remarks. Bruh, I'm sorry. However, I don't believe there is any puppet rescue here. To be honest, the only way he could really realize the reality is if all of you support him and then visit. With luck, he will see reason and take charge of his own god-darn life. He is not your responsibility, neither is his family nor his friends. You are limited in what you can do at your own costs. Don't let your life or his friend's life collapse, since he is too thick to see the reality while all of you are practically handing him data on this. Just to cut out all images of her is ridiculous enough. I would laugh straightforwardly in their face if one of my parents ever said something like that. Ike, if this is something you need to hear but it's my bit, could be quite harsh but rather vital. Let him leave if he cannot pay attention and grasp his own circumstances. On his home screen there was a picture capturing one of the nicest days we have ever spent together, and he said he had no option at the time, and pushed delete only as advised by Mom. It will take more than your buddies and your own helping hand here. Medical and legal experts really can aid him. Suitable ones. You sound as having done all you could. You got him that kind of professional support. He needs to decide to go immediately. His only shot at recovery from this is complete no contact. Based on what you have said, you seem to love him sincerely and really worry about him. Eventually, though, you will have to wonder, given he never departs, what do I do? You have to look for yourself in this too. Stay healthy. I hope both of you will soon be at some peace and stability. Adjust. I'm including this should you decide to fight for him and stay with him. One has power of attorney. Should he return, it would equip you with authority to obtain a court order forcibly removing him from their house. Should he offer it to you, though this will be a costly path, I should warn you. Should something happen, the parents will battle you in court. While I would counsel against it, marriage would confirm POA. A good marriage begins and continues on level ground. Right now, do not have that. It will be a struggle, and there are no simple routes out of this. See what an attorney you speak with suggests. I will stress once more in end of this edit. Be sure you also take care of yourself. One cannot help if one is not healthy. Also recommended by my friend was POA. BF will be coherent enough with us, but as soon as they capture him mentally again, he virtually goes into a trance-like state and starts parroting everything his parents say and cannot be reasoned with. I have pondered whether he is not experiencing some form of detachment. Though I really cannot find any way forward, I want to fight so fiercely. All of it must be his. I believe you are too involved in that of his parents, which are domineering. Though you want to help, you cannot make these decisions for him and force him to act. I would distance myself from the relationship and watch whether he could stand up for himself and handle his parents. Though I would also find it strange that a sexual interest is getting his meds adjusted, etc., his parents sound insane. Though from a good place, it seems overly involved. Should he be able to distance himself from his parents, he probably requires somewhat extensive rehabilitation before he should start a relationship. Though I did not have his meds adjusted, I can see what you are saying. Saying he felt wrong on his previous meds, he wanted to stop them. He carried on under the direction of his prescriber. He was experiencing persistent symptoms of various things while on those, so we began to wonder what is really going on. Adults in an adult relationship work together to accomplish this. He informed me he never even known that was a choice. He followed directions exactly as his parents did. I greatly appreciate you viewing right up until the very last. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe should you truly enjoy our videos. Have a wonderful day.